Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm with the Midwest Writing Center, and we are exploring the excellent things that we can expect at the Collins Writers Conference this year. Today, we will be highlighting faculty member Brett. Oh no, I asked and then I got scared. Brett Biebel,
You got it.
author of 48 Blitz, a companion to the next book is titled A Companion to Thomas. Now I'm nervous. I can't say this. Thomas Pynchon's, Mason and Dixon, and Gridlock. His short fiction has been anthologized in Best Small Fictions and Best Microfiction and featured in Wigleaf's Top 50 Very Short Stories. He writes and teaches in Illinois at Augustana College. We love an Augie person. Um, thank you for letting me stumble over your name.
It's all good.
And thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk fiction.
Always. Well, I'm always excited about talking art. So I'm going to read your course description, so
Yeah.
folks know what we're getting excited about today. Brett will be teaching writing place, geography in short fiction. Um, Again, the Collins Writers Conference runs June 26th through 28th. This will be a morning class, 8:45 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. For 3 days. Here's the description. Whether it's the name of the most popular grocery chain or the physical features of the land, geography deeply impacts all of us, especially from the way we speak to the foods we eat and the things we do to the things we do. These things are influenced by where we were born and where we live. All fiction is set somewhere. This workshop will feature readings and prompts about the role of geography in short stories and offer ideas about how to better make words on the page represent a layered and authentic reality, whether it be in outer space or Jupiter, Florida. So thank you again. I haven't read aloud today.
It's all good.
I now feel really silly. I didn't bring your book with me, which I now have not just 48 Blitz, but I have Gridlock 2 now.
Excellent.
Um, and I want to say I definitely trust you on geography based on what I've seen of your work. Um, so let's start there. What draws you to these very place-driven narratives?
I mean, I think I've always been attracted to fiction that feels like it takes place in a definable universe, right? I think when I was a kid, I really liked maps too, just sort of imagining what a place looked like, whether it was Salt Lake City or Chicago or wherever. And so I think that process is really conducive to writing. Of course, like looking at a map or visiting the city as a tourist like doesn't really capture the place. You do sort of have to like live there and absorb things. So there's like research things you can do to sort of represent reality, and then there's kind of like deep knowledge. Like, and I always feel like that's a shortcut to making the story feel real. It's like if you can figure out some sort of like deep knowledge about this culture or place, then you can immediately sort of make the story feel lived in. And we all have those things, right? Like I've noticed that in just about every place I live, there's some part of that place that's like the soul of it, whether it's a restaurant or a park or a college. And so just trying to capture that is really fun for me, I think, and it helps the story achieve what I want it to achieve, especially because I work in really short forms usually. So having like an ability to say like this story takes place in Chicago, and then the reader fills in all the things they know about Chicago, and you can write into that or write against it in a way that gives something very short feel much bigger.
That that was so succinct, so coherent. Um, you were like, obviously these reasons. I also think that it when you are able to do that, it turns it into sort of a shorthand, so you can skip a lot of the work of setting. I hadn't really thought of that. That's very cool. Now you work, I mean, when I think of short fiction, well, I have my own like length preferences, right? But I think that someone out there has defined it as like 40 pages or less, right? But you do primarily real short fiction, right?
Real short, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I've been writing some slightly longer things lately, but like long for me is 1,800 words, right? Like that's a massive. That's like 3 stories. Most of the stuff I'm working in is in the 500, word to 800 word range. Occasionally go a little bit longer and have been lately, but yeah, very short, very compressed.
I like hearing that. I recently wrote the longest thing I've ever written, and it was 6,000 words.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I had a horrifying compliment once, which was that my piece was the shortest in a book, and I was like, "You wanted it to be over?"
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
I don't think it's that. I think, people,
I,
when you
I mean,
see
I
it
hope
right away,
not.
it's like, oh, this is short. I can read this.
That's how,
So
I
that's,
mean, that's how I feel, but
yeah.
it was with the cadence of a compliment. It was like, that was really short.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty funny.
Um, okay, so that said, I think that it seems based on how you phrased that it just the work is just shorter. Like the way it comes out for you is just shorter. But I think short fiction can be elusive for a lot of people. Are there special challenges or advantages to that condensed nature?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess for me, I mean, it's weird because when I read, I like to read, massive long novels. Thomas Pynchon is known for writing encyclopedias essentially, right? So like as a reader, I'm drawn to that. And I sort of fought that a lot in the early things I wrote because I wanted to be this kind of writer who writes doorstop books. And it just like it didn't work for whatever reason, or it did work, but I didn't enjoy the process quite as much. And I think enjoying the process is so important for writers because the end goal is subjective and difficult, and often the rewards are often more interpersonal or abstract than immediate and culturally celebratory. So I had to fight that a lot, but I really do enjoy the process of writing short fiction. I think in part because there's just like it just the world just makes sense to me in that way. like like being able to write a collection like 48 Blitz, which is 48 stories that all sort of add on to each other, feels more like the world I live in, which is very fractured. And so rather than doing the kind of like big long, I'm going to fragment this text and it's going to be 800 pages and I'm going to use footnotes and that kind of thing, like the way that I've learned to fragment it that seems to work better for me is with like lots of little snapshot stories that add up to create a greater reality. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think the opportunity for that is like I think of Flash as like a very short fiction as a pharmaceutical medium, right? Like you're going for the biggest effect in the smallest possible dose, um, and that's like really powerful for right? To be able to hand off a story to a reader, a short story, is I think a really cool experience because it exemplifies this kind of conversation that writers and readers have. I'm writing 300 words, and then the conversation sort of balloons in your mind, right? And that's fun for me. So I think I don't know. I feel like I'm talking around a lot of it, but I think that hits at why I like it.
I mean, I'm kind of grateful to hear that answer because I mean any question like that you asked me, I'd be like, it happened that way.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but it's funny because I use the word condensed and I didn't really think about it. Like when I said condensed, I meant small, really.
yeah,
Um, but really, if something's condensed, I'm going back to something you said. Um, it does like the rest of it does come out. It expands. It's a all I can think of is the word condensed. But something that is
yeah,
condensed has something taken out to make it smaller. And so if it does
yeah,
sit with you for a while, you do
yeah.
get the rest of it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the metaphor I think of is like those little, like, you ever have those toys that you put in water and then
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I like making the little toy and then the reader can take it home and put it in water, right? and
that's
and
so
and
good.
I like that because that feels more like the fun part of reading for me, like the figuring stuff out, trying to sort of apply it to what I'm thinking, right? I I like to sort of be involved in that way rather than kind of along for a plot ride. And a plot ride is part of it, but I think it's more about the sort of conversation that readers and writers can have, and the way that like a story can grow differently in different readers' heads.
I also really loved that you said that it was sort of the pharmaceutical. That was so good. I just didn't, no one but you could see me laughing. So I wanted to emphasize, yeah, that is kind of what we're looking for. Like, um, now with 48 Blitz in mind, will you be doing any talking during your, because that's the book that I've had until today. We got our book club copies in.
All right.
Um, will you be talking any in your workshop about, I'll say linked collections? I don't know if that's how you would describe that book, but they're not linked.
Yeah, I mean, I think all story collections are linked, right? I mean, some just more loosely than others. Like I think Gridlock is more of a loosely linked,
It's got a
structurally linked.
theme rather than a
Yeah, yeah. But I think one of the reasons I like place is because it helps me to unify something and make me think of it as a book rather than the sort of like I have to write a story today, right? Like that feels very abstract. But if I'm like, okay, I'm working on this thing and it's all set in Nebraska, okay, like 48 Blitz is, I okay, I want to write a story set here today. And then, once you get a few, you're like, what are these characters doing somewhere else, right? What if they leave the town? So it just, you can kind of build on the hinges a little bit more, and that way you don't have to start from scratch. And I think that's really useful for me because I get overwhelmed with like my brain is very scattered and likes to pursue things, and I fall into rabbit holes really easily. So it's nice to be able to put up certain kinds of blinders, right? Like a setting or like a particular theme, rather than just being like, okay, I'm writing I'm writing these flash stories. So having those things to play with is useful.
yeah, I love that too as like a I love constraints when you're looking at prompts, they can be really overwhelming, so I find constraints really useful. Even if
Mhm.
I maybe end up ignoring them,
Yeah,
it's useful
yeah.
to have direction in that way.
Mhm.
Um, do you have any, I'm thinking about place, you said at least I assume a big part of these workshops is going to be reading, it's going to be writing. Do you have any like like classics in your mind about people who really understand place? Writers, I mean.
Writers who really understand
I'm
place.
trying to ask
Yeah,
that without being like, what are we going to read? Because I don't want to
yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
spoil the class.
I think there are. I mean, I think I have a lot of sort of individual flash pieces or short stories in mind. I think like Annie Proulx is one of my favorite writers ever. Those Wyoming stories like very much understand not just a place, but how it influences those characters. A lot of my first book is influenced by reading like Willa Cather novels, because like she's very immersed in sort of prairie life, prairie culture. Um, I think a lot of like musicians like really get place. So there's like songs I can think of that capture place, or bands like the Hold Steady is a very
Oh
Minneapolis
my God,
band.
that's
Yeah,
exactly who came to mind for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's a very
Actually,
like
hold on.
yeah.
Got
Yeah, that's
this on
right.
me right now.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bands. In part because of that world just sort of vibes, right? Like there's this cast of characters and they move around this world, and it's a great sort of storytelling band. So there's like I think of it in terms of a lot of individual stories, and then some authors who excel at sort of longer form kinds of stuff. Like I think Bolaño is a great novelist for place. Like 2666 is a whole world that understands the globe, really, really. And so like, but it also specifies itself in these very particular places, and in the Santa Teresa city in Mexico, especially. So I can see it across all kinds of cultures. I'm not sure how much. I think in the class we'll probably read more shorter examples, right? Because that probably is more conducive to how the workshop should work. But and so there'll be some of those, but we might dip into some of those other writers I think are particularly good at that.
I think that was perfect because I was like, what I had written down was very much like, ask this without asking what the readings will be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for not spoiling your workshop.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, no problem.
so I'm gonna, I guess, kind of go back to basics a little bit. Um, what do you in particular love about storytelling? Back
That's
to
a
basics,
really,
but the hardest question.
yeah, the hardest one. I think it's hard to put into words why I like storytelling so much. But there's like a feeling from storytelling that you really can't get from anything else. I think it is immersive and absorbing, but it also kind of transforms you, and you don't return to the world the same person as you were before you heard the story. Um, I think reading a story about a place like captures something about that place that's really important, and it makes you want to go there in real life, right? So like I think I keep talking about reading and storytelling as a conversation between writer and reader, and that's really what draws me to it, right? Is that like you're able to speak across mediums, and you're able to speak like with this really simple palette of just words. Like it's just words on the page. It's two-dimensional, it's black and white, but it can have this really powerful impact where it makes somebody want to live in the fictional world that you've created, or apply the fictional world to their own real world. And I just think that's a really cool process. And I think that's part of why I'm drawn to shorter fiction, because with shorter fiction, it's more about the conversation, right? It's more about the conversation that happens after you read the book, in some ways, than actually reading the book. And if you get that right, I think it creates a really strong bond between reader and writer.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
I yeah, I realize some questions like that. I'm like, what like I would never answer this. This is rude, but then I get answers like that and they're perfect. So my last couple of questions, my last question. Um, you're a professor and you're, happily engaging in, I don't know, extracurricular teaching.
Yeah,
So I assume you like it.
I
What do
do. Yeah.
you, I'll say specifically about, your creative work, but what do you like about teaching? What do you look forward to in workshop in like voluntary workshops, right?
I mean, I said that my brain is sort of like very scattered, right? What I love about teaching is that it is a real conversation about this stuff, right? Like I don't have to have the reader just imagine what's happening after they read the story. And then it creates a pathway to sort of like structure thoughts and get ideas out. So like I know people like workshops or writing workshops are complicated and they can be sort of fraught in some ways, but I love them because I think there just aren't very many spaces like that in the culture where you can like read something and then have like a really engaged conversation about its strengths, but also about how it could be more, right? I think that's an awesome part of workshop and about writing and about teaching is like we get to do that every day. Um, you know, I think it probably happens to me once a week or once every 2 weeks where somebody will say something about a story that is like, oh, I never thought of that. Or, here's a story I've read 15 times and I've never noticed that one line before, right? And your
Maggie, a
interpretation of
girl
it
of the
is important.
streets.
What's that?
Maggie, a girl of the streets.
Yeah,
I could read
yeah,
that every single day and not pick everything up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
And so
about it. I clearly think about it a lot.
yeah, those things are just like that's just a fantastic experience. And
That's
also,
real. That's real place heavy too.
yeah, yeah, and there's also something really powerful about making writing better or opening it up in a new way, right? Like it's not even about better; it's about opening it up in a new way. So, when we read student work and we have a really good conversation about it, it's like whether or not the student takes half the suggestions or a quarter of the suggestions, because you can never take all of them. Like just the conversation itself opens up that piece and sort of makes it approachable in different ways, which I think is what it's all about, right? I love that. I love being able to sort of we live in the single verse, right? But fiction is the multiverse. Like you can inhabit different realities at the same time simultaneously, And I love being able to do that with stories, right? And see like this story could be this, even if it doesn't become that, like that's great.
You have me so jazzed about reading. I,
Good.
well, I will read today, but not immediately. Uh, cool. Thank you so much. Is there anything I missed? Anything you want your future or prospective students to know about the conference?
I mean, I'm just really excited to teach and to read cool stuff and to talk about place and about geography and really just about like trying to capture a world in words on the page, which is a sort of impossible thing to do, but that means every time you do it, it's kind of a miracle. And it will happen, and it does happen regularly, and I'm excited to see how much it happens over those 3 days. So I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm glad
That's
to be able to do this.
ugh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. For
Yeah.
for folks who are as jazzed as I am, the Collins Writers Conference lasts from June 26th through 28th. This is our 20th anniversary, so we've got a lot of big celebrations planned. Um, Brett can be your teacher, and you can also see him if you, for some reason, don't attend at our, well, probably our 20th anniversary party and at our faculty reading where he will be headlining. That one will be on Friday, June 27th. I know numbers at
Yep, that's
Rostock.
great.
Um, all the information to register or learn more about the conference is on our website at mwcqc.org. Thank you so much for sharing this time so that we can get the word out. And I can't wait to see you in a month and a half.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you very much for the opportunity and for the opportunity to teach. I'm already looking forward to it.